So, what would you do with your life if you had a business that made $4 million per year that you'd built in profit and only requires a few hours a day to maintain? Well, I know what I would do. I would make a channel called Next Daily Updates, and I would just tell everybody how I'm doing it and what I'm doing. So the way these videos always work is I start with YouTube comment Q&A. That's just to deliver you guys some value. It's also a little engagement hack. After that, I build and strategize in public. That's to show you guys what I actually do on a day-to-day basis to make that money. Then finally, I show you guys my stats on YouTube, Instagram, and products using this cool tracker where I've basically been tracking every single day of subscriber count growth and my communities and so on and so forth. Since I started this stuff back on February the 1st, which was just so happens to be my birthday. This is my main channel here. So this is kind of what I'm like, pushing forward. It's my main acquisition channel. And this is the daily updates channel. It's like my bottom of funnel. It's where I engage with people and stuff like that. So I said I was going to do some Q&A. Then I'm going to run you guys through some pretty cool stuff I like to think about what I'm doing with my business right now. And also some cool like Claude code stuff and some MCP stuff that I've been doing and some demoing. First, I'm going to do this Q&A. And so let's scroll all the way down to the bottom of the stack and then respond to Jibo123's question. You can see I've already hearted it because I tried answering it before and I realized I wasn't recording with my mic. He says, "Hi, Nick, you mentioned in another video, the ability to communicate with AI to solve business problems will be the next highly leveraged skill, but I think the skill is easy to learn, which means there'll be a lot of competition in that field. What are your thoughts on this?" And I think that's a great question. So I think there's two major things to understand here. The first is that it's very easy to learn how to communicate with AI in like a base level. And that is by design, because the business thesis of all of the companies that develop these large language frontier models is we want to make our AI as accessible as possible to get as many people on it hooked as humanly possible to both improve the quality of their life, but also to take up a lot of market share. So it's by design. You don't actually need to be a prompt engineering pro in order to communicate with a model and get the 80-20. Okay. However, the way that these models work is that there is a power law, which is like a mathematical relationship between basically your input and then your output. So if this is your input and this is your output, let's say output quality, let's say input quality. If you are capable of being in the, let's hypothetically say, 90th percentile, okay, of all humanity at prompting this thing versus being in the 99th percentile, your output will go up very disproportionately, basically, maybe even more, very disproportionately, basically, to the input that you provide. So if you can go from 90th percentile, okay, which is like, pretty good at prompting, you probably understand like some of the core fundamental basics of it, like being, clear, for instance, which I talk about on my main YouTube channel, if you guys want to check that out, the clear framework. And you get like most of what you want. Well, guess what? If you could push it to the limits, and if you could do things like this GPT-5 cookbook, for instance, where you're using XML tags with various broad sweeping instructions with goals, methods, stop criteria for reasoning, if you can add cool new XML structures, if you could give it a preamble to do true calls and stuff like that. And if you could just be really, really, smart about how to leverage this, you will receive much more than just like a 9% improvement in result quality. You know what I mean? Like, I think if I were trying to be accurate here, if you go from 9% to 99th percentile, probably the actual quality of the output, okay, will probably like 2x. And that is the power law relationship between, the quality and skill, your skill as a prompt engineer, and then the output quality of an AI. So easy to get into, and that's by design. However, it's very difficult to be very good at it. And really, if you think about it, this is like the most abstracted, like human using a tool skill ever, because this is a meta tool that will make all the other tools. So if you can get really good at using this tool, you'll obviously be very good at everything else. Okay, Fahim Khan says, "Nick, curious to hear your thoughts. I'm working on a speed lead system that combines AI response, automated scheduling, nurture flows, and a performance dashboard. So it sounds like a speed to lead system where basically when somebody fills out a form asking Fahim Khan's clients, hey, I want to work with you guys, or hey, I like your offer, maybe it's an ad or whatever. He will use AI to automate the messaging back and then schedule them and then nurture them and stuff like that, okay? So beyond just tracking channels, the dashboard highlights what's reducing drop-offs, which touch points are moving prospects forward, and where the highest value opportunities are coming from. The goal is to help digital businesses turn more inbound interest into paying clients by giving sales reps context that makes closing smoother. Do you think this is a strong direction for an automation agency offer?" I think this is pretty cool, but I think you're approaching this the wrong way. It sounds to me like you're actually building this system, and then you're trying to validate demand, in part by like asking me, hey, is this good? I wouldn't do that, man. I would actually just start talking to customers about a hypothetical speed to lead system. I would actually just go to customers, like, prospects, and say, hey, how's it going? What if I built you a speed to lead system that improved your, I don't know, your top of funnel, your setting conversion rate by 35%? This would have a 35% impact on basically your bottom line, right? So if I could improve your total funnel by 35%, like, how much would you pay me? I would put together a couple demo offers, and I'd literally say, like, hey, I'm going to build you a speed to lead system that does X, Y, and Z. I'm going to do it upfront at no cost, and only if I deliver you X, Y, Z result will I ask you to pay me. And then I would put that out in the universe and push my intent out there with the software, and I'd see how the market reacts. Some people are going to ask, well, what is this AI response stuff? When you say automated scheduling, what do you mean? Well, are you having AI do the nurturing? Are you just like sending this to us? Okay, and like, what's this dashboard look like? These are questions that will then help orient you towards how to actually build the thing. And once you've sold this thing, I would have like pretty generous timelines. Then I would actually use that as validation that people want this shit, and then I could sell it to other people as well. And then and only then would I actually spend all the time and energy building it. So, I give them like a 2-week turnaround time. I build it realistically in like a week. Maybe it doesn't perform, and maybe I just give them all their money back, and maybe that's it. But at least I actually went into the arena, at least I actually tried talking, like actually used the objective metric of, do customers want this shit, or is Nick just gonna, tell me that he thinks it's okay? Because like, obviously I know more than the average person about this stuff, and I've sold many more of these systems than the average person. But you should always cross-reference what I'm doing with the market, right? Like, don't just listen to somebody be like, no, that's not a good idea, and then be like, okay, I guess that's not a good idea. It's like, nah, man, you get to make that decision. You go to the market, you see what people say, and then at the end of the day, like, the market is your best data source. Okay, Brennan says, love the dedication you put in the channel. I'm offering cold email personalization services. I have to scrape lead info from YouTube channels, so I have their email and their YouTube channel link. Usually I do this to the website, but for this specific client, I have to get them through YouTube. How can I scrape YouTube pages, then give ChatGPT, similar to AI cold email personalizer flow? Yeah, there's a couple of simple and easy ways. Go to Appify. It's this like marketplace out there. It gives you a big list of different scrapers. And then just look for like YouTube search, I want to say. YouTube search term channel crawler. Yeah, so this is probably it. Something like this. Now, this is a rental. I don't usually recommend doing a rental. What I'd recommend is you probably find YouTube videos to start. So maybe you use like YouTube hashtags and so on and so forth. Okay. And then what you do is you find a bunch of videos in a niche. And then once you have those videos in a niche, all of them come with like a channel information, right? Name, URL, verification, status, avatar. So based off the videos, filter them and sort them based off of views. And now you have a big list of like all the most viewed stuff. And maybe just take like the top 50%, or maybe take like all the videos that have plus 10,000 views, deduplicate the channel records, and then boom, you have a list of channels. Then you can actually scrape every individual channel page using a variety of methods. One of them is just type like YouTube channel scraper. Then you'll find like, there are actually things where you can just pump in like a YouTube channel ID, and then it'll actually scrape the specific channel contents. And you'll end up with an output that looks something like this, right? Like you'll end up with ID, title, channel name, channel user. You'll get like bios, which is cool. You'll get like their email address if they need them. You can like parse it, regex, a lot of stuff you could do. But basically that's the vibe, okay? So you start with like, I would personally scrape videos, and then based off video performance, I'd scrape channels. Then I'd parse the channels for emails. When I get the emails, then I would send them a message. If they don't have emails, then have a second route that looks for their website. And then if you have their website, and I don't know, maybe you know their name or whatever, you could pass it off to any mail finder or a similar email verification service, which will take these data points and maybe 40, 50% of the time find you an email address for records that you don't have the email for. Okay, hey Nick, thanks for the value. Saw your video when you were building an email campaign from using Apollo and Instantly from scratch. In there, you propose the customer a B2C outreach system that provides them with new leads, specifically in this case for real estate agents. I just did that, now got new customers myself that are interested but have no clue how to build the system. Nice. So Tim is a go-getter, okay? Tim had no idea what the hell he was doing. Didn't even understand what it is that I was pitching. He's like, screw it. Let's try this shit out for myself. And he went and he sold systems to real estate agents. Well, it doesn't sound like he actually sold them. They're just interested. He's confusing customer for prospect, which is also partially my fault because I confuse the terminology a lot. Anyway, how can I do it? Where can I scrape leads, customer data, people who want to buy property and real estate in a certain area? People don't want to buy property in real estate? No. People want to sell a property in real estate, yeah, because you have listings, right? But people don't want to buy property in real estate? No. And did I really promise a B2C outreach system that provides them with new leads, specifically in the case of real estate agents? Did I actually? I don't think I did. I mean, if I did, I'm full of shit, but I very rarely go B2C, right? I almost always go B2B. So, people that want to buy property or real estate stuff in a certain area, the only real way you're going to get this data, man, is through, um, okay, actually, if you're confusing me, and if this is actually B2B, what you can do is you could scrape property developers, companies that do like multifamily home acquisition or whatever, and so on and so forth, because these are companies, and then you could sell these businesses on your services. Okay. On like your ability to scrape properties and then deliver that to them in like a nice dashboard. This is a system I've developed multiple times. I've worked with a bunch of, like investment firms and so on and so forth, developers to do this. So that makes a lot of money. Alternatively, if it is B2C, then I was probably talking about some sort of like speed to lead system, which is what Fahim was doing earlier, where basically, like real estate agents will have some ads up or something being like, hey, new property at XYZ location. And then they're just like pretty piss poor and shit at like actually dealing with them, communicating with them. So this is just a speed to lead system that like the second somebody expresses some interest, you immediately like SMS them or something, offer to get them on a call. So that's probably it. Okay. All right. Drip says, are there any free APIs that are useful and similar to the paid ones that I can use as alternatives as a beginner? Yeah, I mean, like there's lots of free APIs out there, man, but you got to like specify, like, what is it that you want to do, right? What is it that you want to do? There's a lot of free APIs out there. Just like literally look up like free API lists and you'll find tons. Collective list of free APIs is one of like the most valuable resources out there, on the internet right now. There's so many. Look, it's like exhaustive how many free APIs there are out there. Okay, TreeMind says, Nick, I'm 18 and I live in a country where both small and medium-sized businesses are far behind with AI and automation. They don't know what Zapier and Make are. Some of them probably, some of them in America don't. Since you said automation become commoditized in the next 2-3 years in North America, do you think it's smart to build an automation agency here now? Make money during this lag period, at the same time level up in a systems thinking and business value skills before the window closes. Like it kills me because I make videos that I think they're videos that are always technically correct. He's referring to this video here. I make videos which are technically correct. Okay. But then, and how's the performance? Nice little uptick. Beautiful. I make these videos that are technically correct about, why I wouldn't learn automation in 2026 is my number one skill, which is technically right. However, it then ends up like scaring off a bunch of total beginners because they don't have the nuance, I think, to like really get that. Me saying that the skill stack is moving up a layer to, strategic outcomes and consulting, is not a knock on them making money in the short term. Like if you allow me to stop you from like taking advantage of market opportunity, I get, in a way that's my fault. So, but it's also your fault, I would say. So anyway, do I think it's smart to build an automation agency here now? Of course, man. But just, like you making an automation agency versus you making like an AI consulting agency or whatever the hell you want to call it. Same thing, right? In one, you just deliver strategic outcomes. And in another, you just focus on the tools. So don't focus on the tools, you'll be fine. And then there's no leveling up that's going to happen. You'll just start with the business skills. Like it's not really mutually exclusive. And also, man, like, this is like a very big problem, I would say, that I'm trying to point out. But it doesn't matter to anybody that makes $10,000 a month. So if you're not making $10,000 a month, then make $10,000 a month first. Because like, let's be real here. There are still web design agencies out there in 2020 current year. Let's not date this too much. That make $50, $100, $200, $500, $1 million a month. Like you can do anything. There are still clay pottery companies out there where the dude hand fires the clay and they probably make $30K a month. And that technology's been out for like 8,000 for like 20,000 years, So I guess what I'm trying to say is it's never fully black or white, right? It's always shades of gray. Okay. Javin says, in your opinion, what's the best AI LLM in overall performance? I've really enjoyed using Claude recently, yeah. I should note now that I'm in negotiations with Anthropic for a sponsorship deal talking about their artifacts. So just putting that out there. I don't know if it's going to go through, but in no way, shape, or form is my opinion on this biased by that. Up until quite recently, I would have told you ChatGPT all day, every day, but I've just found I've just found that Claude Code specifically has been great and capable of delivering me a lot less like LLM-ified copy. And if you don't know what I mean by that, check out yesterday's video because I actually show you how to use old school models like Llama 3.1405B, the base, to write in my tone of voice, a much higher level of quality, I would say, than like the most recent Instruct models. Okay, so yeah, I think probably Opus 4.1, like in terms of usability, because I'm not trying to do Math Olympiad problems here, right? Like I don't really care about any of that stuff. All I care about is like, hey, when I ask it to do something, what is the probability it will infer what it is that I want and then do it well without me having to do some crazy prompt engineering thing? So that's what I mean by performance. What do you think of the market demand for Notion consultants? I'm a Notion expert and wondering if I can build a business on top of the tool. Thank you so much for your time. Yeah, like I understand that tactically speaking, Notion consultant's a good way to frame yourself for people that like have Notion setups and they want consulting on them. Although I'm just always wary building a whole business on top of just one specific tool, That's why I've just moved up the stack over the course of the last 3 or 4 years with left click, where it's not like we're just like a single tool. Like, we used to use make.com initially, and that was like the vast majority of the thing. But, sometimes we did Zapier projects, sometimes we did other projects, custom code. But now like it's very clear that like we're strategic consultants and there are a variety of tools available to us. And it's just like depending on what use case, we recommend specific tools that work better for those use cases. And then certain tools just take more time and energy and money to fulfill. So I'd recommend approaching it like that. Definitely like use the Notion CRM consultant or whatever the hell is like your SEO angle and your angle on Upwork or whatever if you need to. Call yourself a Notion consultant to get into like Notion's recommended vendor database, sure. But I'd be more of like a CRM consultant than anything else, All right. Hopefully I offered some value there. About this $4 million year business, yeah, things are going pretty well. Like left click has just been through the roof. We've gotten so many sales calls in the last little while, which is pretty sick. So big fan of that. And then where the hell's the website, man? Yeah. Yeah, website's going to be very, very beautiful. I don't want to scroll any more down because I have a very embarrassing picture right here. It's like an AI generated picture of me. It's not at all good. But yeah, we took some inspiration from this web design site that I saw and I really liked. Obviously tried to make it look very different from that site. Scroll down a little bit over here. Yeah, I mean, like, what can I show you, really? Well, I guess anybody here will be able to access it. Well, hopefully by the time that this is out, the website will be up, no issues. I'd say the number one thing I want is probably just going to change the color. And then, yeah, boom, website is now done. Thank freaking God. That took forever. So that's cool, which I think it'll like give us more of an enterprise vibe. Hiring. Well, I think, we've now made a decision as to hire. And we're going to hire basically, we don't really have a fully established hiring model yet, to be honest, like an org chart model or anything, which is a problem. But yeah, we've hired, or we are in the process of hiring like an AI guy, like another AI guy, which is going to be fun to do some more fulfillment. On the video side, I've been pumping out videos like a madman recently. My editor doesn't have control over my YouTube deletion, so I have to just delete all the videos. So he says, delete this, let me delete them. Yeah, but anyway, so the video stuff are going well, right? Like we published this video and then in like 24 hours, it's gotten 11,000 views. This one in 48 hours or 72 hours, 16,000. So this one was definitely a relative underperformer. This one here was like massive performance. This one's kind of mid-tier. This has led to a spike in Maker School signups, which is cool. And then if you look at like the school games ladder here, it's just been pretty nutty. Up 10,000 in MRR in the last 7 days. And Spence has actually now breached 310, which is like insane. Me and him were just having a chat about how, it seems like there's some natural resistance to the 310 level, but he's gaining on Anthony, and I don't know how stable Anthony's stuff is, so I could totally see him drop. We'll see. Yeah, so pretty stoked about that. Now, when it comes to Maker School specifically, I'm thinking I'm going to experiment with hiring people. So for those of you that don't know, my whole claim to fame here in school, I won the school games like a couple of months ago, which is like a big competition to see who can make the most money basically on this community platform. And my whole claim to fame was that I ran the entire community myself, and I did. It was great. And I did it all in like 90 minutes a day. And essentially, my whole point was like, you can just respond to most of the posts yourself. It's not actually that big of a deal. Like if you know what you're talking about, you can respond. And when you're making like 300 grand a month, obviously it's like, well, dude, what's more important than just like engaging with the product that like makes you $300,000 a month, like $10,000 a day? Like to be clear, that is like 8 times more money than I used to make in an entire month that I was making in a day. It's like 240 times the amount of money that I was making in a whole month, or 200 times approximately. Stupid. So obviously I'm going to fucking do it, right? But the thing is, I'm spending like 90 minutes a day on this, and it's interfering with my ability to like create content, right? So drive top of funnel and then do business development. And there's some courses and stuff that I want to do. So I'm thinking about hiring some people. I've done some trials over the course of the last couple months that have worked reasonably well. Where I like hire somebody to help with Q&A, for instance, somebody to help with like recording Loom videos and stuff like that for people. I won't say that all of them have been super successful or super fantastic. Some of them have been on and off. I've also just rewarded people that engage in the community. Like sometimes I'll just drop people like, hey, give me your Venmo or whatever. I'll drop you $200. Like, thanks so much. And then because I do it like a bonus sort of thing, people are like, oh my God, this is crazy. And then they continue responding in my community, which is cool. But yeah, I'm just finding like at a certain point, my ability to like value add the community is now contingent on, me expanding to some degree. So what I'm thinking of doing is I'm probably going to drop the total proportion of posts that I'm responding to, at least for the interim, from 100% or 90% or whatever I'm at right now, to like probably 50% or so. And then I'm thinking I'm going to bring on maybe 1 or 2 other people to assist me with the commenting on a longer term basis, as opposed to these small little few day or week long or 2 week long trials. And I'm just going to see how that goes. I have no expectations on this whatsoever. I'm just going to continue logging my time, and I want to see the differences between the time that I'm spending before and the time that I'm spending after. And if I can get my total time investment from this from 90 days down to something more like, 45 minutes to an hour, I think that'd be pretty valuable, because I'm just going to spend those 45 minutes just like creating new content for Maker School. And if that works, I'll do the same thing with Make Money with Make, and I'll just create new content for Make Money with Make. Because, I was supposed to finish the automation course like a week ago, and I'm really dragging my feet on that. And it's just because I don't have enough time in the day, man. I'm just running out of freaking time in the day, because there's like my Maker School stuff, obviously, right? Which is the main income source. But then it's also like, well, I need to create content on YouTube to get people to that. Now that I'm kicking that train up, that's like an extra, like hour and a half a day, which is also a little too much, which I need to fix. Then it's like, well, on top of that, now I have all these additional obligations that come up. And so when more people enter Maker School, there are more introduction threads and more people asking questions, and I have to update resources more. So anyway, it just ends up being like this self-fulfilling prophecy. So yeah, my whole claim to fame was obviously the one-man community thing. I think I can still, confidently say that, because we did hit the 300K and it was just me. But I'm going to try this out, see how it goes. I don't want to like dilute or distill the value of the community. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, like I'm just going to maintain very tight reins on it, I suppose. Maybe be a little micromanaging to start, but yeah, I think it just makes sense, right? Yeah, I think it just makes sense. I don't see any other way to continuously increase the value of the product without finding a way to like stop working, not work in the business as much, but get back to working on the business. And it's like 99.9% of every single person on this list, probably all of them, like they're less active than I am, and they'd be less active than I am if I did 10% of what I'm currently doing. I love seeing Miles win, man. That's great. We're crushing it. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do there. I'm doing some really crazy shit with Claude Code right now. Really, really crazy shit. And like, I can't show you my Claude Code instance, just because I may be having some plain text API keys up in here. But if you want to like see some of this, then just head over to my Twitter account and then scroll down. Basically what I'm doing is I'm replacing all of the make.com and n8n functions that I use for my business with Claude Code SOPs. So before, if I wanted to create a proposal and send it to somebody in Pandadoc, I would create a make.com automation, and then I would, specify the API and like get all the API keys, set up the connection, manually map all the fields, whatever. Now, what I do is I basically I take my JSON and then I give it all to Claude, and I say, hey, I want you to create like a natural language text SOP so that I can give it to another instance of Claude, and it can just follow all the steps and make all the same API calls and stuff. Can you do that? And I give it to it, and I have it think really hard. Then it goes and makes me an SOP, and the first time doesn't work. So what I say is, hey, can you take this, and then can you debug it, and then can you make it work? And when you make it work, can you update the SOP to reflect the additions that made it work? And then it goes like, okay. So I give it some data and then it goes and it does it. And then the third time I say the same thing. And I run this like 2 or 3 times. And by the end of it, I have like a pretty bulletproof SOP that works like 95+% of the time on one shot. When I say one shot, I mean like it just like doesn't even have to do an error loop. But then I say if there are any errors, I want you to debug it until you can't send it. So yeah, I mean like it's been really good so far. And do I think that this is like as reliable as what I was doing before? No. But a good use case example of this is instantly campaign duplication. So like one of the productized deliverables that I used to do was like, I'd sign on a new client, right? And then my copy is really good. So I would just copy my own copy and then I would duplicate it into their accounts and then I'd make some minor adjustments and then that would be their campaign. Then I'd fill it up with leads and stuff. And then, that'd be it basically. I'd send it off and because my copywriting's really good, I started with my own template. I know the template works and I'm good at it. I deliver great results for them. Well, turns out you can just like productize all that, completely AIify it. Like, sure, technically you can do this in Make and edit on. It was way easier to just say, hey, here's an SOP. When you get a new client, I want you to run through all of the instantly campaigns that I have that are labeled template. Then for all the ones that are labeled template, I want you to select the top 3 that are as relevant to the client spec as humanly possible. And then I'll like give it a transcript of my Disco call or whatever. And then I'll say, and then I want you to update the copy so that it reflects this new niche and not the template. And then it goes like, okay. So it filters them down, it finds a 3, it duplicates a 3 into a new instantly campaign or a new instantly workspace, which, I specify. And then I have the 3 campaigns that are ready to go. It's wild. So now my question's like, okay, just because, cold email is the thing that I tended to sell the most. So it's like, can I automate the scraping of the leads too with Cloud Code? And I think I can. An issue, which is really annoying, is that like just like 2 weeks ago, Apollo, which is the main lead vendor, changed the way that they do their URLs. So previously you would add some filters and then it would generate a URL with the filters in the URL. You would take that URL and you'd feed it to a tool like Appify's Apollo scraper and then it would go in and get you all the leads. Like you'd basically scrape Apollo, which by itself scrapes LinkedIn. Turtles all the way down. Anyway, well, now they've changed it. Previously, what I was thinking is I could just feed it a bunch of rules regarding filters and then feed it the client spec. And I could say like, hey, I want you to scrape leads according to the client spec and according to these filters. And I think it would do a good job. But now the filters are different, which kind of sucks. So I'm looking for services that have the same filter kind of idea where I could just like, specify the filters in the URL and then use that to scrape a service. And then the SOP would be like step 1, take the client transcript, which will include a bunch of questions that I asked them about like, hey, like, what are your leads? What sort of business do you work with and stuff like that? Turn that into 3 Apollo filters for different subsets of an audience. Then call Appify scrape these filters. Then take the leads and then enrich them using this AI workflow. And it would like actually do the enrichment itself. It might do the enrichment itself. Maybe I'll call something else for it. I don't know. Then once you're done, upload them to the instantly campaigns you just made. Like if you think about it that way, like the shit would be totally crazy. You get like 100% like one shot a new sign up in like seconds. So that's what I'm working on right now. Pretty cool, huh? Basically the idea is you use it as a brain, and then you generate SOPs at like a top level that chains together a bunch of tasks. So this is an example of one of my SOPs, a post sales call flow. So, hey, first thing I want you to do is create the proposal. However, after you're done creating the proposal, you need to send it. Then send the follow-up email. And then finally update the CRM. You will find all of these in the tasks folder. So then it goes into the tasks folder, finds them. And then like boom, like I generated a bunch of stuff, which is pretty cool. And I want to say everything that I expected to worked on one shot. On stuff that didn't because of API key issues or whatever. Then I fixed it and then it worked great. Here's a post-call email demo. Did it with instantly, had some hook issues, and then boom, I duplicated the campaigns. It was great. And anyway, to make a long story short, I just have to do this with the lead list. And then I think that'll be like a new way that agencies function, honestly. You just have like an agent operator that like does everything off a natural language text SOP. Yeah, reliability will go down for sure. But I think you could solve this by just building in some sort of like validation step. And what's really cool, what I really like about this is the idea that like in the future, you could have a single salesperson, okay? A single salesperson. Max their calendar is maxed on calls. We're talking like book the hell out of a single salesperson, full utilization, 30-minute back-to-backs for like 7 hours a day, right? That's like 14 disco calls a day, 5 days a week. We're talking like show ups, probably like 50 to 60 calls a week. Like wild, right? Back them the hell up. And then for all of the admin and assets and stuff, like after every call, it'll just trigger the agent to do everything for him, you know? So then he'll just be fully utilized. So what is like the conversion rate on somebody doing 60 calls a week with like really high quality SOPs and whatnot? That single salesperson, assuming they convert 20% of them, 12 a week on like, I don't know, even like a $5,000 thing. That's like 60K generated a week from a single dude. That's like 240K a month. We're talking like recurring here with some sort of churn, right? Jesus. Yeah, that guy could be generating millions of dollars a month and just him. Then you get into like the fulfillment on the back end, right? Like, fuck, the leverage is wild. Okay, anyway, I'm talking way too long, and I told myself I'd keep these to 20 minutes, not 30. So I'll leave it there. Thank you guys very much for watching. I got a lot more sleep last night, and I'm finally headed back to the gym today. Whew, after being sick for last week, it was very much in the cards eventually. But yeah, hopefully you guys are seeing the things that somebody that runs a $4 million business is thinking and doing in real time, and it helps you. Cheers.